Let's go next to let me go to Kenny in Phoenix. Kenny in Phoenix, you're on the air.
Good morning, David.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing? Sorry,
Good.
I'm eating breakfast right now.
Oh, all right. What are you having?
Some bacon, some eggs, and toast with butter.
Oh my goodness. Turkey bacon, I'm sure, right?
No, sir, unfortunately.
The full thing. Okay, all right, very good.
Oh yeah. So I wanted to ask. I actually had a conversation with a really good friend of mine that I've had since early childhood last night. I had a conversation with him about politics, and we've never talked about it before. I consume a lot of political content, and he I think this kind of ties into the whole like deprogramming thing. So I was talking to him, and he thoroughly believes all the talking points, but he doesn't consume any media.
Hmm.
I asked him about it. He doesn't really watch any media. He doesn't really read any news. um he knows all this stuff through word of mouth, which is kind of scary.
Now, when you
um
say word of mouth, do you mean like literally? Do you mean people at work telling him, or are you including social media in word of mouth?
I think social media actually might play a role.
Right.
That What's up?
That yeah, I was that's I think the key thing because at this point, when we talk about like Fox News, for example, only a few million people are ever watching any particular episode of Fox News. This country has
Hmm.
331 million people, but the point is Fox News has agenda setting power, and then you see the stories repeated on Facebook and on Twitter, etc., and that's where it's being repeated, and that makes sense.
Yeah. And so we were going back and forth about the election fraud thing, and I kept trying to. I don't think he really understood, how all this stuff works, and I think a lot of people don't.
Yeah.
So like, what do you think? And it was so hard to be polite, right? Because as someone who's paying attention to this stuff, it's like it's really frustrating. So I guess like I just wanted to pick your brain and see like what do you think maybe some strategies might be to like I guess like calmly attack this, I guess.
I mean, with someone that's that uninformed and who's basically just getting what other people they know are sharing on Facebook, for example, they're not even necessarily, it's not even about getting them to look at different news outlets because they're not even looking at news. You
Right.
have to start really softly with where did you learn that, and getting them to say, and then say, oh, and how do you know that that's trustworthy? They say, well, my aunt Beatrice shared it on Facebook. Okay, well, what does Aunt Beatrice do for work? Oh, well, I don't know. She
Right.
she works in a factory. Oh, all right. So clearly she got it from somewhere. This wasn't her research. Where did she get it? Well, I guess I don't know where she got it. Okay, well, you can find out for yourself. There are primary sources on this stuff. You've got to start getting them open to the idea that they may be
Hmm.
hearing things that aren't true, but it's really tough. It's very, very difficult.
Yeah, it can be really hard when like one thing I think a lot of people on the right tend to do is like they'll do all their own research, and they'll end up at a lot of very interesting conclusions.
Right, but
And
research often just
when
means you look at articles on Breitbart.
yeah, pretty much, right? And then it's like, well, I can come back at them with 10 articles that say, "Hey, you're not right, man."
Yeah.
Well, you can't believe everything you read on the internet. And it's just like, "Oh man, this yeah, it can be a little stressful then."
I mean, the problem is that with a lot of these things, there's this false notion that it's up to sort of like opinion. Like, for example, does cutting taxes for the rich help the economy? That's an empirical question. And we can look in history at changes to tax rates and then the associated changes in GDP, employment, et cetera. There's a lot of people who unfortunately are in the paradigm of, well, I don't know because, the nation says one thing and Breitbart says a different thing and then Tucker says one thing, but then MSNBC says something else. You can go and look at economic papers that are peer reviewed from, groups of economists and actually answer that question. But the problem is a lot of people either aren't aware or don't know or have the interest in actually doing that. But a lot of these things are really,
Yeah.
they're knowable. They're not really opinion. They're not really up for debate.
Yeah. So I guess like a big first step is going to be trying to I guess get these people to understand that academics have what is it? Like like they're held accountable. It has accountability.
Yeah, and
Whereas
I think
like
the
when
first
you
step is
watch
just getting
Fox
people to
News, there's not
recognize that
accountability.
there's limits to what they know. If once people recognize that their knowledge is limited and there's more out there, that's step one. And unfortunately, a lot of people are either just naturally incurious or are just busy living their lives where they take that thing they
Right.
see on Facebook and that's as far as they go, and that's not a good recipe.
Yeah, that makes sense. All
Kenny,
right.
great to
Thank you,
hear from
David.
you. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Have a good one.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. If you're holding to talk to me, please don't hang up because we're going right back to the phones momentarily. If you love feeding your intellectual curiosity, but you're always struggling to find the time, check out one of my all-time favorite apps called Blinkist. Blinkist lets you consume an entire book on your way home from work. They take thousands of popular nonfiction books, condense each one into text or audio that you can get through in just 15 minutes, and you get all of the important core ideas and information from that book. It's perfect if you don't have enough time to do all the reading you want to do, or if you just want to sample a book before you buy the entire thing. I recently read A Brief History of Time, of course, by the great Stephen Hawking. This is a book that I have been aware of for so long, and other things got in the way, and it was fantastic to check it out on Blinkist. Blinkist has books on politics, philosophy, science. They have 27 different nonfiction categories, and a subscription is only about $8 a month, and you get the entire library. But you can try it totally free and get 25% off a subscription when you go to Blinkist.com/Pakman. I've put the link right underneath this video.